Spurs. And, I was alluding to this, that basically everything remains status quo. It was like the World Cup never even happened, and Spurs are the perfect metaphor for that. 9 straight games Spurs have fallen behind or conceded first in the Premier League. They look terrible in the first half. It's just like this. They have this just incredibly strange trait where they almost like need to be incentivized to play in a match, and then all of a sudden Antonio Conte takes his handbrakes off, and Spurs look like world beaters, able to nab a 2-2 draw against Brentford despite falling behind. They're minus 150. Tottenham are at home against Unai Emery's Aston Villa, who are 4-1. The draw is 3-1. This is a Sunday morning kickoff. I don't know how anyone could trust Spurs at this price, at this time right now, Anthony. This is a team that looks confusing, I guess is the best way to put it. They are Jekyll and Hyde, literally Jekyll in the first half, Hyde in the second half. Do you just sit back and say, okay, I'll just wait for Villa to score and then I'm going to live bet Spurs?
No. I think, by the way, who the last team Spurs scored first against?
Gotta be Arsenal. It's got to be
Everton.
Yeah, it's got to be Everton. Do you know the Wolves?
October 15th.
Wolves has 2 away wins in a calendar year, and they both came at Goodison Park.
There you go. Yeah,
the answer is always Everton.
Spurs are starting to remind me of a certain team in 2020 and 2021 that cost me a ton of money because going into COVID and then coming out of COVID, this was a team who would consistently be overrated in the betting market. They would consistently fall behind their opponents. They would make a magical comeback and then seem to always score in stoppage time every game off of a fluke or a transition or a weird play, and they would win these games, and it was bizarre. And this team finished second in the Prem, despite being like the 6th best team in the league that year. They were the closest challengers to Man City, and then they went into a period of turmoil right after that, and then they had to reboot everything, and they're a team that BJ has bet against repeatedly this season, and now they're finally on the upswing. That's where I feel like we're at on the cycle with Tottenham. They remind me so much of the Ole Man United teams that it's kind of remarkable. And I shouldn't say Ole and Conte, I shouldn't put them in the same sentence because obviously there's a huge managerial difference there. But Spurs have been incredibly fortunate. They have rescued a ton of points. They were totally outplayed the first hour against Brentford. The only thing that worked was just hoofing the ball up to the forwards, winning every aerial duel, completely bypassing the midfield. The defense was leaving a lot to be desired. Eric Dyer, conceding a stupid corner that leads to the goal. Longley, I actually thought had a pretty strong performance, but Davinson Sanchez, first guy off the bench. Like there's just a lot of, Jaffa Tanganga getting starts, Romero still celebrating the World Cup. There's just a lot of staleness at Tottenham right now, it feels like, and they haven't taken a step forward. They've taken multiple steps back. They were doubled up on expected goals. I was pretty encouraged by the Villa performance. Now the number isn't quite there for me right now, but I do think we're going to get a +1. And then it's going to be hammer time on Aston Villa because this Tottenham team just continues to run really good. The only thing that's scary, Villa's bad defending set pieces. And that's the one thing where Tottenham has lived and survived and been incredibly fortunate. I guess it's the one key difference because those United teams weren't good at set pieces either. But, Spurs have been great on set pieces. It has saved them. But somebody asked me today, is going down all the time and coming back a Conte thing? Like there's a problem with Conte, whether it's tactically in the first half, or is it just that they're bad? And I will always say that it's probably random and variance that teams keep falling behind, like the games don't play out a little differently where they go up and then concede. But it's just a sign of an inconsistent and not very good team if you continuously keep conceding chances early in games and falling behind. And remember, there was another team that had the same problem in the spring, Liverpool, and started. And look at what happened to them, this early season here where they've been getting, beat repeatedly. So it's a harbinger of bad things to come. And I'm about as bearish as I've been on Tottenham, probably a year and a half, 2 years after that match on Monday.
Yeah, I'm on Villa. 4-1 is a good enough number to go against the Spurs team that they look incredibly vulnerable. Show me the person that wants to bet Tottenham at -150. Let me see him.
Not me at -150. But what I will say, it's something I've been saying quite a bit, is that I actually think the market's going to go against Tottenham based on, what we've seen them just consistently going behind. Like, it's already come down a little bit. You can find a Tottenham -140 out there. And if this thing hits -120, I will be firing on Spurs, because yes, the eye test, they haven't looked that bad, but they're going to get Bentancur back. They're going to get Romero back probably for this match. They'll be a little bit better defensively, a little bit better in the midfield. And the biggest thing, and I understand game state, is because Aston Villa was behind against Liverpool, but they were really, really bad in transition defense. So if Tottenham's able to sit deep and just play in transition against Villa, like a better finisher than Darwin Nunez, then Liverpool could have had 4 or 5 goals in that match. So I'm very hesitant to just start fading Spurs again, because like Anthony said, like going behind 9 times in a row is just, it truly is variance. Like, unless you're just really, really bad, like, or one of the worst teams in the Premier League, like, okay, you can just say, all right, they're bad. But like a team like Tottenham, who's in the top 4, who is still at around a +7 expected goal differential, like this team isn't as bad as I think everybody is making out to be. I think they will start to veer the other way as they start to get some of their attack. Obviously, they got Kulusevski back. That'll obviously help them going forward. But I think you're going to see a better, more inspired Tottenham performance this weekend. So if Tottenham hits -120, I'll be firing on them. But if they don't get there, well, I'll just wait for them to concede, and then I will bet them live.